Hello there, it's Sarah from Paper Lovely. Thanks for joining me today. I have got another Halloween video for you. Today we're going to be using the Frank and Stitch from Spellbinders. This is the August stitch die of the month, and you can actually do stitching with this, or you can also do just the plain bands without the stitching. Though the stitching, I feel like, didn't take too much time, and it was very easy to do when you die cut the inner portion, which of course has the holes for the stitches. It gives you a little line in between each of those holes and tells you exactly where to stitch your thread so that you know which lines you're creating. This is a very mummy style stitch. You will have some things that will overlap. It looks very much like a bunch of little sutures, but it is varied to give some difference to each of these. So I started out using a full 6 strand of the floss that I'm stitching with, but I decided to cut that in half and only use 3 because I knew I was going to want to pop up these stitched pieces for some dimension, and I felt like the 6 was just looking a little too thick. So I just cut that in half and used 3 strands together. So I'm going to go through here and stitch together one of these for you. Of course, I do have this sped up to 2 times the normal time. And then off camera, I will finish the other 2 because they really are all very similar. They are just slightly differently shaped to give some variety to our mummy bandages. All right, so skipping ahead here, we've got all of our stitched bandages ready to go, and now we're going to place together our little monster eyeballs. The largest piece is going to be the color of eye that you want. The middle piece there is going to make the white of the eye, and then the black will add in the pupil, which sort of just sits off to the side. And there are little indentations on these as you cut them out to tell you exactly where to place everything. So I played around with this quite a bit, trying to figure out how I wanted my bandages to fit. And I have found the best way to do this is to actually place down your teeth first. So there I'm just cleaning up the edges around those, making sure they're nice and smooth. I'm going to add some art glitter glue, and I'm going to place these down first. And then we're going to wrap our bandages around those. So doing this slightly below the middle to give lots of space for our eyes and our cheeks to go up above. And then once we get these into place, I will start laying out my bandages. Now, I did cut out some solid in the same off-white ivory color that I used for the stitched bandages. I won't end up using those. I wanted to make sure I had enough, but really it was just too much. I wanted to have some of the black peeking through behind the bandages, so I ended up taking those extra pieces of that color out. But I've left this all in here for you so you can see how I place everything down, sort of move things around, decide how I want to lay things out, and then what I eventually end up with. There's no really right or wrong way to do this. It's just what you think looks best. Now that I've got a good idea of how I want things to flow, I'm going to go ahead and glue these down piece by piece, keeping my 2 tones of gray in the background, and then we'll let those stitched bandages really take the highlight on top. I just want to make sure as I'm placing these top portions down that the eyes are going to look relatively like they belong in that space compared to our teeth. So just keeping that in mind as I place everything, especially the stitched bandage, because I'm going to pop those up with some foam dots to give us a little bit of extra dimension. So just kind of laying that out to help myself as I decide where to place things. And now we'll go ahead and grab our foam dots. These are, of course, the Spellbinders foam dots. I love these. They are worth every penny. Every time I do a Spellbinders order, I grab another pack of both the small and the large. That way I never run out. And then this last one is the skinniest. You can still use the large foam dots on this. It's tight. You just have to be careful as you place them down so you're not sticking out over the edge. Now I'll go ahead and add just a little dot of some art glitter glue to get our eyes into place. And of course, our little pink cheeks off to the side. And then lastly, we will add our eyebrows. So I thought about sort of having one pop up there on top of that popped up bandage, but I decided it would be better to just slide it underneath. This is such a small piece. I didn't want it to get caught on anything, so we're just going to kind of tuck that under the bandage there. And that is gonna finish up our little monster face. This is so cute. This is one of the cutest eyes I've put together in a while. I love this set. Gonna go ahead and trim off that excess. Do be careful when you trim and as you're placing things down that you don't want to catch a spot that you have stitched and cut away your thread. So just be aware of that as you're cutting. And then for the inside, I'm again going to use a stamp from last year's 13 Days of Halloween kit from Spellbinders. This reads Monstrously Fun Wishes. I have, of course, used my Spellbinders, my Simon Says Stamp black ink for that. It's my go-to black ink. We'll add some ATG and place that on the inside of our card base. And there is our finished Mummy Monster card. Now I wanted to do this one more time, and this time we're going to use some really fun purple colors. I'm sort of seeing this as our girly monster. You know, she needed the special bandages. So again, I'll start out by putting these eyes together. I have gone ahead and stitched the stitched bandages off screen just to save us some time. I went with a little darker pink for the cheeks, but I'm using that same green for the eyes. Again, I'll go ahead and clean up around these teeth. For some reason, they just wanted to have little sort of, I don't know, fuzzy edges kind of hanging around them for me. I could have used my metal shim and it would have gotten me a really, really clean cut, but I didn't. So now we just have to go around and fix this a little bit. I also wanted to play with doing a horizontal version of this card because our bandages are quite wide and they are just about the perfect length for this. They're ever so slightly shorter, but I think that by layering them and angling them, it really fills in nicely. You have slightly less space to place your teeth and your eyes, so you again do have to do that strategically, but I really like the way this came out. I think it's a really cute version way to use this in addition to the vertical. So I've got 3 purple colors here in our solid bandages and then a 4th color for our stitched bandages. And I did want to try and get all of these in. I really wanted that Halloween purple vibe. So I am strategically placing those so we get a little peek of each of those colors. And then, of course, I will do the same thing and lay our stitched bandages on top. Now this time when I place the eyes down, I'm going to actually put them in the middle of the 2 popped up stitches. You'll see that in just a second here. So I'm just thinking, how can I lay this out and get everything I want on this? And that is how I ended up making everything fit. So again, we will start out by gluing down our teeth first. Do you ever have those days where nothing was cooperating with you? That was one of these days. Of course, that fell with the glue side down in the middle where I wanted it to be open and black. The life of a crafter. Thankfully, we have our glue erasers and we can get rid of any extra adhesive. So again, got our teeth glued down. We're gonna go ahead and one by one glue down these bandages. And I did try to, as I placed these, to keep a fairly even black border on either side. Sometimes that worked, sometimes it didn't, but I tried to keep everything somewhat even along those side edges. Now at this point I realized I needed to add in more of that dark purple along the bottom. I tried to get a little bit of each color on both sides of our teeth. And now again, I'm going to go through and I will pop up each of these. You will see on that bottom piece I'm working with now, I used a little bit of glue to hold a stray edge of my thread in place, and it did leak through to the front. I didn't film it, but what I ended up doing with that, because it did not dry clear for me, is I went and I just added a little bit of extra stitching there. I just kind of made a little sort of, some extra lines, and I filled in some things, and you would never notice it to look at it afterwards, but you can see, if you want to look in the close-up pictures, you can see how I did that with the finished photos on my blog post. So as I'm placing these top portions down, I am keeping in mind that I want to have my eyes fit on top of those two. So I need to make sure I've got room for the glue for the top and bottom of the eye to fit in there. Now laying this out here, and what I ended up doing, I had planned to glue these in place like I did on the first one, but I ended up grabbing one of my smaller foam dots, and then I just kind of squeezed that foam dot in between the two popped up bandages, and that worked out really, really well. And I kind of place these to be even with the fangs of the top level of our teeth. That's how I kept my spacing as accurate as I could. Of course, we'll go ahead and add our eyebrows, just a little art glitter glue, and we'll pop those into place. And then, of course, our little cheeks as well. And that one on the right-hand side, I will again tuck just ever so slightly behind those bandages. I love it. I just think these are so adorable. I kind of want to do one in a million different colorways. We're going to go ahead and stamp out that same sentiment, but this time I am going to pull in some Concord and Ninth Pink Lemonade. This matches the color of her little cheeks almost perfectly. We'll add some ATG, place that on the inside of our card base. And there is a close-up look of our second card. Here are a few close-ups of the finished cards. In the description box below, you'll find my blog post, which has additional photos and links to the supplies I've used. If you enjoyed the video, please leave me a comment or a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.